Go. Okay. What? I thought you'd never ask. So, right, get the fuck out of here. So I've been playing Samurai Showdown and Final Fantasy and Dragon's Dogma. I can't believe I'm not done with the story in Final Fantasy 14. That's my own fault, though. Yeah. It's okay. I'm okay that there's still more content for me to experience. I've been playing at least 2 hours or 3 hours a day. There's been a couple days I haven't played. Let's just be honest. But I mean, and that's okay. it happened. But I've definitely taken a break to some capacity on what, the weekends usually, where I'm like, okay, less time. Like I'll do all the roulettes. Like that's what I usually have been doing, is doing all the roulettes and then I progress the story. Some of the roulettes last longer than others, so it allows me to do other things, like a little side project and among other things. But it's my sworn brother. Thanks, I appreciate it. I was just talking about my day. Well, yeah, just got on that. So yeah, that has been going on. I've also been messing around with Devil May Cry, actually. I still haven't beat it on Dante Must Die, so I've got like 10 more missions and I'm done, but still. Well, what about you, Spence? What have you been playing? For who? I can hear you. Is it OBS? Sorry, microphone or headphone users.
Oh, that's a bummer. There it goes. Shoot, the whole intro is gone.
I don't know.
Damn it. Anyway, check out Your Sworn Brother. They just did a great N64 retrospective, and it's got all the classics. Although I think they missed a couple. Jet Force Gemini. Anyway, go ahead. We're gonna get into some articles.
No, what have you been playing?
I have been playing too much. I've got this new rule of mine where I don't play multiple games on one console. So I cheat that by playing many different consoles. I'm playing. Well, right now it's pretty interesting because I'm playing almost exclusively Dragon Quest games. So on the Switch, I just got Dragon Quest Builders 2. I'm gonna start playing that tonight. And then I'm playing on my phone Dragon Quest 6, which I've never really played. So that's new to me. And then on PS4, I'm playing Dragon Quest Heroes 2 because I wanted something light and something where I could just hit things. And then on PC, I went the other way. I'm going with the other Square Enix classic of Final Fantasy. I'm doing Final Fantasy 14, trying to catch up with JD, which JD says, good luck, because I probably won't do it.
Stuff, man.
But I am 25 now. I think I hit 25 last night.
Yeah.
And I guess it's slowly becoming obvious that it's getting longer and longer to level up, which is obviously what happens in all these games. But
oh, you'll be fine.
Took me like an hour.
Really?
Yeah.
You'll be fine.
But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. That's right, Short Storm brother. The spin-offs. I love Teddy. I wish Teddy was here right now. He could add him to the show. Maybe we will someday.
I don't know if you're looking at me.
I'm looking at the chat, which obviously doesn't make any sense for anybody that would be watching. They just said, "What are you doing?" Yeah, 6 is weird, but it kind of reminds me of 7 in some of the ways where it's like almost different worlds that you go into that affect the other. So I love that concept that Dragon Quest plays with, but they obviously kind of ditched that with the newer ones, which is fine because they're always simple and great, but I'm cool with it. So far, so good. So
Keep talking.
okay. And then Dragon Quest Heroes 2 I'm playing because, again, like, I just want to hit stuff. I was playing Persona Q2, and that game is obviously super detailed and it's like a really grindy dungeon crawler, and it's really nice to turn the other way with it and just hit stuff for a while. Just whack things. So that's been fun. I meant to play Spider-Man instead, but I honestly, like, as soon as I turned it on, and I was like, I really want to play Dragon Quest, and so I'm gonna do that.
What a loser. What a weeb.
Yeah, I'm a weeb. Love my anime. Can't get enough of it.
You're the weirdest weeb that ever weebed.
The only Arizona you know is in a can. That's the Arizona iced tea, I believe. Try water.
Right. It'll allow you to survive in Arizona.
Yeah, we don't drink that here.
I never realized how important that was. So after we left the movies, Rosie and my brother came over.
Yeah.
I bought them both a gallon of water at the gas station when I was getting gas. And the look on their faces when I got it to them made me realize, man, this is a real issue.
Yeah.
Like, oh, for me? I was like, it was like, oh. And Rosie was like, thanks, man. I appreciate it. And my brother, he's like, oh, yes. Oh, all right. Thank you. And I was just like, God damn. So, yeah. Oh, slurp that shit up. Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah.
So,
I did just mention Persona Q2. Do you think I should just jump in on that?
yeah.
All right. Persona Q2, I played it. I beat it. It's about 50 to 55 hours to beat. It's a dungeon crawler from Atlas. It's probably the last game that's going to come out for the 3DS that I know of. And we'll get into that in a second. But it is it's in the vein of Etrian Odyssey. If you combine that with Persona and added every character from Persona 3, 4, and 5 into one, and what would happen if Chie met Joker? Or if one of those characters from 3 that I don't remember would meet Anne.
Probably a one-off line, and that's it. What are you doing here? I'm Joker. All right. Like, that's it.
I'm a phantom thief. What's that?
What's your persona?
Yeah. That's like what's your sign? What's your persona?
We fuck.
So that kind of highlights one of the problems with it is that a game with so many characters and it's clearly just fan service. It tends to lean heavily on one of the character traits of these characters instead of like the fully fleshed out characters that you would get from the mainline games. So you're really just
story is good.
No.
In the other ones, I mean,
they're okay, and they're not great, but they're fleshed out characters where they have all these things going on. And in this one, Chie is basically like, I like meat. That's pretty much her character. And one of the other characters obsessed with protein from Persona 3.
Oh, got meat and protein, huh?
And one of them, the artist guy, he's
like dick.
He's basically just drawing, like that's his thing in this one, which I guess was kind of like the other one, but he was more of a painter and did all these other like artistic things. But he's really just distilled down to you draw stuff, and that's pretty much it. So in that essence, it's kind of weak. But honestly, I probably would have skipped it anyway because it's an Etrian Odyssey style game, and I'm in it for the dungeon crawling. So I skipped a shit ton of dialogue. And I'm thankful I did because most of it was pure nonsense. Basically, the story is you have your Persona characters stumble into a movie theater. Whoa! And they do it from a movie, so they end up being inside of a movie, and then from there get into a movie theater. And turns out there's a girl there. And long story short, you have to go through a whole bunch of different movies that bring in all the different characters from the Persona games, and they all have certain messages that they're trying to get across and different problems that you have to address, and you have to face them. So like, individuality, but they're so heavy-handed you wouldn't even. There's nothing subtle about this game. All subtleties are completely thrown out. They just whack you over the head with everything, and for that reason, I tended to skip most of the dialogue. You can pretty much get everything you need to know from just the pictures, and that's what I did. As far as the gameplay goes, it's pretty fantastic. In most of the mainline Persona games, only your main character is called a wild card and can get multiple personas to use, and therefore like he can have access to all these different like fire, water, all the different kinds of spells, and he can kind of handle that. In this one, everybody has access to a secondary persona. So everybody kind of switches and grows and changes. So you'll never have the same persona that you did like this in the last dungeon. And you level that character up, that persona up, and you can fuse it to make different ones. Anything that's been in prior SMT games is pretty much in this one. 2-layer fusions, 3-layer fusions, special fusions. There aren't 4. Man, I beat it last week, so anyway. But there's tons of different SMT stuff that you should be familiar with if you're familiar with the series. And then if you played Etrian Odyssey, it's the same thing. You draw the maps, and you keep going down one layer, draw it, do it. There's FOEs, there's huge bosses that you don't want to fuck around with, and it turns into puzzles. Basically everything you'd expect. If you played Persona Q, you've probably played this one. I think this one's a little bit better, but again, this is me kind of skipping a lot of story because I'm not interested. So if you're really interested in the story, I don't know, it's super heavy-handed.
Yeah.
Probably more anime than the last one, and just how loud the characters are and how obvious they are. Overall, I would say it's a pretty great game. If you don't like Persona, you're going to get. If you don't know the characters, it's probably not going to be as effective for you, and you should probably just play an Etrian Odyssey game. If you like the characters, it's a slam dunk, and the gameplay's great. I would, if you're a Persona fan, buy it full price. If you're not, go into it knowing you're probably going to skip a lot of dialogue and pay like $20 for it. Yeah.
I don't know if that's depressing.
Well, I mean, part of the game, the selling point of the game is like it's all of your all the characters you love in one game. So if you don't know the characters or love them, that's hardly a selling point. Just be like, well, I don't know who Chie is or Yukiko, so has no value. And in this game, it's not like you get the deep character they were in Persona 2, Persona 4, or Persona 5. You just get I like meat. So
I like meat.
yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, that's my review. Next up, Stranger Things. Speaking of some weird things happen in Persona, and some stranger things happen in Stranger Things.
Oh my god. I'm so sick of your horrible freaking segues.
Specifically, Stranger Things 3. Third season came out recently. You watched a ton of it, but not all of it. I finished it. Should we do a spoiler review here?
Yeah, go ahead.
Spoiler review. All right.
Everyone dies.
No. The boys are back in town. And the girls.
Did you know who the girl, the ice cream girl is?
No.
It's the daughter of Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Did not know either. Until I was halfway through and they're like, this girl's got a backstory. It's just like, it's like all your typical articles that are just like, isn't this amazing? And then you're like, okay.
Isn't it always disappointing to find that shit out? Why? It's like, it's cool to
think.
Why
do you need a contrarian?
No, well.
Isn't that sad? No?
Well, like, it'd be nice to know that somebody just worked really hard and
there's plenty of people that have done
as
that.
An actor. I know, but sometimes you hear like, oh, that person was kind of cool, and then it's like, oh yeah, their parents were like super famous and into the business. You're like, oh, okay, that explains that. Like Jonah Hill, like I remember hearing about him, and he was like, oh, this kid, he's like a little chubby kid that is kind of funny, and he made his way up, and he did all this stuff, and then it's like, oh yeah, but he used to like babysit for Dustin Hoffman, or he used to babysit him or something. Like, oh my god, okay. Everyone's just got connections to Hollywood.
Speaking of Jonah Hill, what about Leonardo DiCaprio?
What about him?
He didn't come from anything. He just acted his ass off.
Yeah, that guy's badass. I like him.
Yeah, he wasn't recognized till What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and they actually thought he was mentally challenged. He acted so well. And then he's like, what is this guy doing at the Oscars? They kind of find out. Surprise.
Yeah, props to him.
There's plenty of that happens. You usually get like the Scott Eastwoods. Usually get those kinds of guys. Like, I have a really popular parent, now I'm also in the industry kind of thing. Like, for instance, isn't one of The Rock's daughters is into wrestling, right? Or
I think they're getting into it, yeah.
Yeah, same thing with Ric Flair, right? His daughter is sort of the same thing, but rarely do you get it's like both parents are like celebrities, and she can act, so I'm not even worried about it. If she like sucked at acting, I'd be like, maybe you should just stick to ice cream,
Yeah, they're like, oh my god, the Demigorgon. She's like, what is going on?
Demigorgon, what?
Demi, what?
You nerds. Anyway, so about the, let's start with this. Let's start with who's your favorite character in Stranger Things?
Probably the older sister of the main dude. No. It's Hopper. Definitely the cop.
You like Hopper?
Yeah.
Loser. No, I'm kidding. Why do you say that? Why do you like Hopper?
I think he's the best actor in there. I think that I like that kind of gruff character, and I like that he's like getting shit done and wants to do things. I don't know. I just like him. I think he's great. It's really hard for me. I'm not a movie guy. I don't necessarily know how to explain it. I just like his character, and I think he does it very well. What about you?
I would say it's actually Steve Harrington.
Who's that?
Steve Harrington is he's the high school student. He was dating Nancy in the first season.
Oh, okay. And
then they split up. And then he started going with that dude that was caught for smuggling in drugs into the United States. That was fun. I'm surprised he was on that season. I was like, damn, they must have shot this shit quick. I'm sure there's a rest. but yeah, no, Steve Harrington, because he's, I don't know, I think he's realistic in the sense of just how he interprets things.
He's the one who's working at the ice cream place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the relationship he has with Gums McGee, who's missing all his front teeth. How does he eat, by the way? But
I don't know, but he does.
Yeah, but,
he definitely eats.
Yeah, but no, he's lost weight. He lost weight, or he just grew into it.
He grew into his body.
Yeah, he grew into his body. He's like, I'm eating for the future.
Yeah.
So, but no, Steve Harrington's cool. I actually don't like any of the kids.
No, they're kind of whack.
Yeah, I just started getting sick of it because, who is it? Who's the Nancy's? I gotta look this up. Nancy's dating, what's his name now?
Yeah, the ugly face kid.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. He looks like he's one of the Stranger Things.
Him. That's fucked up. But you're right, and
I'm right. Damn right.
But with that, it's so weird to me. Will, there he is. So Charlie Heaton looks like they put Michael Jackson on his face. Is the best way I could put it. And then with Will Byers, I was like, they're gonna make this guy gay, aren't they? When
Will
he's
Byers.
like, I don't,
yeah,
like, I don't ever want to have a girlfriend, and I was like,
they danced around that.
They danced around it,
and they never like nailed in that point.
Yeah.
But he is gay.
But it feels like it. Oh, wait, as a kid?
No, like he's got to be gay.
Oh yeah, right. Like he's like, I thought we'd always be friends forever, and I'm like, all right, so he's naive. And then he's like, I never want a girlfriend. I'm like, but you want a boyfriend.
Well, I don't remember if it's in one of those last episodes that you may have missed, but the main dude, the main like little boy,
yeah,
he's like, it's not. They get in like an argument, and he's like, it's not our fault that you don't like girls.
Oh yeah.
He said that to him.
It's not our fault you don't like girls. And then like the way he's saying it implies he's just being naive and talking about how he doesn't like women. Or doesn't have a girlfriend, but in actuality, it's because he's gay. Like, I'm just like,
you're gay, bro.
All right, man. Like, I respect something that respects me, right? The Walking Dead was great up to, depending on who you ask, specific seasons, right? Because it stopped respecting you. Right, it takes a minute to get it going. It's like acceleration. You want to see what its max speed is, and that shit keeps going. You're like, yeah, I'm along for the ride. And then same thing with Game of Thrones. Picks up. You're like, yeah. But like Stranger Things in this season, like I wasn't even hyped for the season. Maybe I'm the weird guy. Everyone at work is like, holy shit. I'm just like, I don't feel it because I want something dramatic in what I watch. You know, like I'm watching Chernobyl from HBO, which is fucking awesome, by the way. Part of the reason why I haven't given you my HBO account is because I'm slowly watching, but that's the only reason. But
take your time.
I don't know, man. You'd like Game of Thrones, but you're a contrarian, so I'm just like tempted to not show you anything. Because you're just like, that was stupid. And I'm like, I can't show you shit. You just don't take it for what it is.
Crap.
Why are you looking down like that? No, but seriously though, Stranger Things. So I'd say one of the main things that I just feel weird about is like, I feel like it's following a cycle at this point.
Every single season has been the exact same thing.
Yeah. The first 2 seasons are like, something weird happened. Or first 2 episodes are always like something weird happened, and then they're like, all right, we got to develop, and then like by the end of what's called, either people start getting into relationships, people start getting out of relationships, or there's a loss of some kind, right? Like the first season was what's her name, Glasses Girl dies.
Yeah.
Second season was boyfriend of mom dies.
Yeah, Samwise.
Yeah.
Samwise Gamgee.
And I haven't even seen all of the 3rd season. So I really can't give like 100% of a review. I can only say,
Well,
like,
you're right. But this time a major character dies.
Hopper.
Hopper. Yeah.
Hopper does die.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense. So that's what I'm saying. It's like it's following a cycle.
Yeah.
At that point, you just get used to it. I'm like, they should probably, if this isn't the last season, next season should be the last season, and then that's it. They should never make any more Stranger Things.
Yeah.
Or they should cap it off with a Netflix movie and end it. Because pacing on Netflix shows is like one extended movie. I'm watching an 8-hour movie. I'm not watching something that's like made for TV. And while some people may argue that that's a benefit because you can pack more, there's more of a reason why characters do things instead of you just showing me like a scene of good example. The first 2 episodes are showing what's his name? All right, so the dude that gets possessed.
Yeah.
At the end of the first episode? Or the second
the
episode?
lifeguard dude.
Yeah, lifeguard guy who's the douchebag in the first one, or in the second season, gets knocked out, I think, by Harrington or somebody knocks him out. The thing with what's his name's mom, where they're like, oh, we're gonna fuck and all that shit. I'm like, that has nothing to do with any of the story.
It really didn't. We were so confused at what that was all about. We didn't even realize that was his mom because she had changed so much in appearance.
Dude, I didn't realize it until she randomly was at the house, and they were like, I left that job, and I was like, oh shit, that's how they're connected.
Right.
I thought she was just some mom.
I thought it was just some. Yeah, because she changed. She used to be like blonde and had curly hair, right?
Well, not only
that,
or
brunette
she wasn't a main character in the sense of having a lot of screen time.
Right.
You know, that was more of a towards the end of season 2 kind of thing. They made a nudge at it.
Yeah.
And you're just like, oh, okay, whatever. And then like the shit just didn't fucking make sense.
Yeah, like, never came up again.
Like that, and I don't like what's his name's little sister, that little girl.
I liked her.
Attitude.
I liked her a lot.
I fucking can't stand her.
I thought she was funny.
I can't fucking stand her at all. I just get so sick and tired of her, where she's like, it's gonna go down this way, and I'm just like, I don't fucking care, man.
I like
this girl should kick rocks, personally.
I thought she was very funny.
Ugh.
She was one of my favorite things about the show. One of my least favorite things, consistently, and this goes back to all the seasons, is 11.
Oh, really?
What?
I like Millie as an actress.
I think she cried during her audition, and they're like, let's use that in every scene with her.
If there's one thing I've noticed, is she has inconsistent powers. Like in season 2, she shuts a fucking hole like that would normally allow the monsters to come in. And then in this one, she's like, I used fucking a barbell against you, and I threw you through a wall. And he should be dead, but okay, he's alive. What the fuck? And none of that shit made sense to me, man. I was so confused by the end of that thing. And it's not to be confused in the sense of like, it didn't make sense to me because I couldn't follow it. I'm asking myself, why is this here? There's a lot of moments where I'm asking that.
Throughout the entire series, I'm asking myself, wouldn't this be so much better if she wasn't in it?
Like 11?
Yeah. If there's like a bunch if there's a bunch of kids that just have to solve it using their wits and their guile, and like,
so
instead
she's that gap. Like if they're all the characters are on a circle, right? Kit Harington. Wrong franchise. Steve is in one portion, the kids are in one portion. Steve is with the older like teenagers in one portion, right? He's with what's her name, who does the ice cream with him. He's with Nancy, fucking Michael Jackson face, right? They're all technically in that sort of area. Then you have the kids. Then you have Hopper and whichever parent he's teamed up with, which is usually freaking Winona Ryder looking like crazy as fuck. Yeah. And then you have the psychedelic sort of element. or not the psychedelic, but the sci-fi element. So the sci-fi element is probably closer to the kids because they're always investigating that. This time, Hopper's investigating it too, and the kids and the adults, the young adults, are like, let's try and solve this the way the kids do it, kind of a thing. So I mean, I guess there's that, but shit, sorry. But at the same time, like, she's the bridge between that because she's with the monsters essentially. You know, any creepy thing happens, you want her to be involved. So I see why she's in it.
The only reason she's there is to use her psychic powers to beat up the monsters when they show up.
Yeah, she's designed to show the sci-fi element. Yeah, I'm not saying she's a great character. I said I like the actress, but I don't like the character. But
so why can't they have the kids find a way to fight it or do something?
Wouldn't they did in season 1.
Well, they don't now.
No, they don't.
In these ones, it's like, oh my god, a monster. 11, can you do that thing where you like use your brain to explode them? You're like, okay. Oh, my nose is bleeding. Like, okay. Game over. They did that like 3 times in this. They got attacked. They got attacked by a giant one, like toward one of the last episodes, and they're in like a cabin, and it breaks in and starts fighting them, and she just rips it in half.
Oh.
It's like, great. What I liked was that apparently she Luke Skywalkered herself, where she got really tired from using it too much, and then didn't really use it at the end. And it made for a much better movie, or film, or whatever you want to call it, which proves my point.
You can call it a movie.
Yeah. Which further proves my point that without her, it would be so much more interesting, where they actually have to find a way to solve the problem without using psychic powers.
Yeah. I remember watching up to episode 4, and I was like, I need to watch the rest.
Yeah.
But I got to 5 and almost got through, or halfway through 6, and I still thought the same thing. We need to finish the rest.
Yeah.
So personally, would I recommend this? No.
Yeah, but you know people are gonna watch
I feel like this is more. What?
You know they're gonna watch it. The people that were gonna. So.
My manager loves that series, and he talks about how it's like it's the perfect 80s vibe. He's like they're talking about a kid who came back from summer camp, and he has a girlfriend now. You know, there's like all these like what's called, and I'm like, so pretty much they're cashing in on just pure nostalgia at that point in order to sell a product. Which nostalgia is powerful, but you know, for someone who's I guess more expecting something more, you're not going to get anything out of it. You're just looking at something that's just like, oh, isn't that neat?
Dude, it's super well produced, waste of time.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd recommend it. It's not for.
But,
if you like
but here's the problem. It's a super well produced waste of time. But these days, and we've kind of talked about this, people like wastes of time. People are kind of into like binge watching everything. It doesn't even matter. Some people binge watch like five seasons of a show, and it's like, what'd you think of it? Like, I think it was kind of terrible, but once I started, I didn't want to stop. It's like, whoa, you spent like 60 hours of your life watching this show, and you didn't like it, but you just you just started it, so you didn't want to stop. Like, yeah. Like, that's the thing now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's...
So, I mean that's... To that, yeah, I guess go for it.
I mean, to your point, though, I think there's some... Like, Game of Thrones, or actually 24 is a good example. That was the first series I binge-watched the entire fucking thing, right? It was out on Netflix at the time, and I watched every season that was out, and I remember there were some seasons that just weren't all that good, you know, but it really came down to I cared more about the universe, so I was invested in that capacity.
Yeah.
Right. So maybe I see what you're saying, but I also think maybe that part of it might just be like they're looking at it from the standpoint of like, I'm already invested. I don't like certain elements, but I like other aspects of this. Like Scrubs, I hated the first like 2 seasons, I think.
Yeah.
Just because I hated how JD was an asshole. or well, he was naive. And then like towards the end, I'm like, all right, it's bad fucking like he was a self-destructive asshole. And that was okay. And same thing for like How I Met Your Mother. There were elements I didn't like about that show, but I watched the entirety of it because I was just like, I'm invested, you
Yeah.
know.
I don't do that. With 30 Rock, I love that show. I will not watch seasons 1 and 2.
I don't know, man. I think there's a show that you do that.
What
You
show?
just did it. You just did it for this one.
Stranger Things?
Yeah.
Well, my girlfriend likes it.
Oh, okay. Excuses.
I wouldn't
didn't have
watch
to
it if it weren't for her.
You didn't have to watch it.
And yeah, no, I mean, I you know, it's something that we do together. And a lot of times I was playing Persona Q2 while it was going on, but
More
I
excuses.
got the gist of it.
Spencer Excuses. That's your last name now. Spence Excuses.
Yeah. My dad, more
Yeah.
excuses.
More excuses. And then your mom, no.
Yeah. She's at the gym every day. She's drinking her energy drinks. Why'd I marry him?
Right now, Scott says now, like this the best relationship of his life. Yeah. So, all right, that's enough Stranger Things.
So you're saying no on that one?
I'd say I don't know if I could tell someone that I'd recommend it, especially if you're like a '90s kid, or like early 2000s. Shit's just not going to make sense to you. You know, I feel like it's if you're 40, sure. But you know, I'm an '80s kid. That makes fucking sense to me, and I don't give a fuck. Whatever.
Yeah.
Make Stranger Things for the '90s, and watch me still ignore it. So,
if the point of your show is to cash in on a time period, then I will ignore your show. If it were just me.
Well, you can't say that because shows like Boardwalk Empire are good. They're cashing in on the time period.
They're cashing in on being good. They're not cashing in on. It's the 50s or something.
What?
Boardwalk 20s, Boardwalk Empire.
Prohibition. Yeah.
Oh, 20s. So I mean it's the setting, but it's not like that's the whole point of the show. It seems like Stranger Things a lot of times the point of the show is to be in the 80s.
That was like Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
The whole point was to show just the 90s, and it was just like, you know.
Yeah.
So I get it. It makes sense.
All right, Stranger Things. All right, what's next? Real quick, so a couple news topics. Here's a Stranger Thing. Do you believe that Kotaku, they say the Nintendo Switch Lite has sealed the 3DS's coffin because it's a portable Switch now, which the Switch is already portable, but it's removed the thing where you can put it into your TV. So now it's just a portable thing, and it's going to be Switch Lite. They're going to release a Switch Pro, I assume, shortly after this. That will just be a more powerful Switch version. It's kind of annoying to say that a Switch Lite has sealed the 3DS's coffin when the 3DS has released one game this year, at least one game of note.
Yeah.
I think it closed its own coffin, and you don't even have to refer to that because every console
like, you can bury me now.
Yeah, every console has a lifespan. That's absurd. That's like saying, well, the PS4 just like you were saying just came out, and with the PS4 here, PS3, you better look out because it's coming. Like, it's kind of just stupid. So there's a little talk about it where they're going on about, yeah, this really just replaces the 3DS, which for one, it really doesn't. They're two very different consoles, completely different consoles, with completely different libraries. Yeah, it's portable, but the 3DS kind of is over. It's just done. Like, it's reached its limit. So
yeah,
to say that this is the closing the lid on the console is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I just find that a little unusual to say something to that effect, because to me it just seems like it's implying that both were competing against each other too.
Yeah.
And you'd say something like that maybe against a competitor, like you could say about that PSP compared to
right.
portables
that.
out, and it's like that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, you'd be like
Because,
the 3DS just sealed the Vita's coffin when they released. Whatever.
yeah, so you're just like, oh, okay, fine. You know, it's still an opinion, but at least it's one that I guess has a base.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're planting their foot on very, uh, very shallow, very rough terrain, ground, whatever you want to call it. It's
Yeah.
just, it's not. Are you sure you want to go that way? Is kind of what I'm saying. You know, with that in mind, you got to look at it from you know the. I get it. You work for a blog posting company and you need to get articles out. That makes sense. I'm not arguing that. What I am arguing is that it's important. What you say, I'm sorry, I have I don't care about. I
Yeah.
really just don't, because to me it comes off that these guys are talking about how the Vita or the I'm sorry, the light is just this next coming of age thing, but we don't actually know if that's even the case. Like, is there even a study done or any sort of demographic that's based around how many people use this when they're on the go? I get that it's an advantage, but how many people use it on the go? I can tell you in Arizona, it's kind of hard to use it on the go if you're going somewhere, because if you leave it in your car, you're fucking risking a lot.
Yeah, Arizona is such a bad metric for it, but at the same
It is.
time represents a problem in
Yeah.
that in Arizona we don't I mean we have public transportation, but it isn't like it is in like New York.
Yeah, it's not everywhere. Like, you have to walk pretty far to get to certain bus stops that are
Yeah,
going to ride people.
most people drive. And
Yeah.
if you're driving, you're obviously not using a Switch. Or if you are using a Switch, that's freaking cool. Because you're a really good driver.
Yeah,
And
then you
do
gotta
not
look
drive
at.
anywhere near me.
But then also, so let's just say you have a Switch. Do you have a backpack with you everywhere you go? If you're a female, yeah, you probably have a purse or something like that. If you're a dude, do you have a backpack running around? Are you like? There's so many logistical. I could see using it if you're flying somewhere,
Yeah.
right? To use on the go, or if you're like, hey, we got a road trip coming up, and we're going to somewhere that's anywhere cooler than Arizona, sure. But if I'm like using it to be portable, where am I going to? That I want to play a game
Yeah.
as opposed to interacting with people.
That would be such a douchey thing to bring. And
Like
honestly,
to a party.
oh, yeah. And I mean,
That's all.
honestly speaking, I know this is going to sound rough, but if you saw a person like our age playing a Nintendo Switch in like a park or a library or something like that, it'd be kind of dorky.
Yeah.
Be like, you're kind of a loser.
Yeah.
Like, I get
I feel
it
like
because I'm a gamer and I love the Switch and I love playing games and stuff, but you're kind of a dork. It's true.
it's like having a what's it called? It's like it's garnered towards college students or kids or people who want to spend their time being entertained.
Yeah.
Which I'm not talking bad about the business model of it, but I'm also looking at it from the standpoint like, as an adult, I would much rather just dock it.
Here's where the portable thing is great, and this emphasizes why the Switch Lite doesn't really make sense. Is that it's really cool to play when like somebody wants to use the TV for something, and you can
Oh
like
yeah,
plop it out and just start doing your own thing.
you're with the missus, and she's like, "I want to watch."
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trying to take jabs at Eric, but Teenage Mom or something like that.
And you're like,
"Shit,
fuck
I don't
that.
want to see that." I'm gonna pop on some Zelda.
I'm gonna play some Zelda. Yeah, and it's like you were already playing it, right? And then she's like, I want to do that. It's like, hey, okay, cool, I'll concede. So it's a concession that I will play it handheld. Boom. You play it handheld. The battery life's shit. So it's like you can only play it for like 2-3 hours, maybe. And
Unless
then
you like alter the performance, right?
maybe.
Or like the you gotta turn off vibration if it's on.
Yeah.
You gotta turn off the brightness, turn down the brightness.
So it's a great as like a secondary option. As a completely secondary, as like only that, I don't know. I mean, I might get it just because I'm such a handheld gamer.
Yeah.
But like for the majority of people, I don't understand why that would. I mean, it's called switch because it can switch between them.
Cool.
You just remove the whole function of why it's called a switch.
I was like, now sell me.
Sell me a switch that doesn't switch.
Yeah, man. So
yeah,
that's probably the best point. Sell me on this, and tell me why it's something that I even need to consider. So
anyway,
I don't know.
Let's switch to our main or no, you want to talk briefly about Evo?
Go on, Evo.
All right, let's switch to our other topic, to our main topic of the night, which is Spider-Man. We're a little bit late to the party, but we saw Spider-Man Far From Home. I saw
close to our home.
I saw Spider-Man Homecoming last week. Can I just do a quick discussion on that?
2 minutes.
All right. Spider-Man Homecoming. This is the first. It's kind of what didn't Disney team up with Sony on this one?
Yeah.
Did they do it on Far From Home as well?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what we're talking about, Iron Man. Otherwise, you couldn't mention it.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. So this one, Homecoming.
Oh, spoilers, by the way.
Yeah, don't be spoilers. So
spoilers.
So Homecoming, he's fighting Michael Keaton and a little Vulture. His Vulture? Is that what he is?
He's Vulture.
I thought it was okay. I liked that it felt more condensed than the other superhero movies that we see. And which makes sense because it's supposed to be like neighborhood Spider-Man kind of thing.
Did you like that scene where it revealed that he was the dad?
It was a little eye-rolly.
Really?
It was a little...
Because a black man and a white woman, or a black woman and a white man can't like each other?
It's ridiculous. It's horrible. I don't know. It's
really?
It's a reflection on society, honestly.
Yeah.
No,
environment.
I just thought, like, man, of all the people, of like 1 million people in New York City, and that's, whatever.
I think that's just part of the point of it. They're just like, it's a small world kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he has good motivations.
Yeah, no, I didn't hate it. It's just, it was a little bit like, okay, I mean, all right, we're gonna do it. Okay, that's fine. It wasn't bad, and I like that the way he was animated. He was animated like a bird, so where he was like really quick movements, and I thought that was really neat. I really don't like the constant use of Iron Man. I think it takes away from Spider-Man personally, but
well, the whole point was, it's a passing of the torch thing.
He's got to be the next guy, so okay. Yeah. I think I like it when Spider-Man is like a kid that has to learn how to grow up on his own. But they're going a totally different direction with it, which is whatever.
He legit is part of a company that competes with Stark Industries in the comics.
Oh, really? Spider-Man?
Yeah. He's a smart motherfucker, man.
Yeah. And I hate that little fat kid. So let's talk about Far From Home. Go ahead. What's going on here? How far are we from home?
I remember I leaned over to my brother at 3 different times during the movie. First time I was like, I thought they're in Paris. He's like, no, they're in Italy. I was like, I know, but why are they in Italy instead of Paris? He's like, I don't know. They're stopping there. I was like, okay. And then the next place they stopped at was Prague, right? And I was like, yeah, this isn't Paris. And he's like, no, I know. I don't know. Just watch it. And I was like, fucking weird. And then they're in London, and I'm like, why is this not fucking Paris? And then he's just like, I don't know, man. They switched. They switched off. But I was just, the third time it was a joke, but it's the whole point of it. I was like, I thought they were going to fucking Paris. So in that respect, I think probably the greatest thing, or the greatest takeaway from that film, is I like that Marvel does a good job of playing to the strengths of people, of their superheroes.
What's Spider-Man's strengths, or Tom Holland's strengths, I guess?
Well, no. I actually mean the spectacle. I'll get to Tom Holland in a little bit. There are 2 really cool things, and it has to do with the final segment. The first part is when he's shooting his webs out, and he puts it in between the 2 it's not London Bridge. Is it London Bridge? It's
They're
called
in
something else.
London and it's a bridge.
So anyway, he shoots out that huge web
Yeah.
up there, and then he goes underneath it, and he shoots a couple guys with him, and he goes underneath it, and then he crushes those guys, and then he's upside down, and he stretches. These are his legs. He stretches up, shooting the webs to grab the other things, and then he goes down, and he brings them down with him, and they blow up like right around him. Like they're being smart about his powers, because if you really look at it, I could just use webs, so I have to use momentum. I have to, in this case, these drones have to get tossed at shit. And I always like seeing that. Like I think it was a too little, too late. It was by Civil War that I started to see that they were paying attention to their different roles of characters. Panther, when he's chasing after Bucky, he's like grinding down the side and he's like looking, or the car scene where he's chasing after Bucky in the car. Like all that stuff is cool because they're highlighting the advantages and the cool things about those characters. It's fan service in that regard.
Yeah.
And even Iron Man, when he's like, I'm just here as a what's it called, and then he has the one glove that he's fighting Bucky with, and he shoots it into his hand, and he's like, what the fuck? And then he gets like knocked out. Too many jump cuts, sure, but stuff like that makes me happy that they're still making the films. So I like seeing that. You know what the characters can do, and they're doing it. It's hard to complain about that. That's all I have to say about the spectacle. But as far as like I guess the actors in this case, I like Gyllenhaal. I think he did a good job.
When you say spectacle, though, can I just throw in?
No, I like Gyllenhaal. So anyway, but
I thought I had conflicting thoughts because I thought a lot of the special effects looked really shitty in this movie.
Of course it did.
And then I was like,
tell me other things that were obviously horrible with the movie that only you caught.
Well, no, because then I was like, well, in a way, it's probably supposed to look like that because of the fact that it was like fake. Like it looked fake. Like a lot of it looked really,
You're talking
really
about
fake.
Like the monsters, the elementals.
Yeah, and specifically the scene where he like throws him into like a weird VR instance.
I thought that was creative because
It was very creative. It looked kind of shitty, but I was like, well, I guess in a way they had every right to make it look like that because it is fake. And so I kind of was okay with it. I was like, at first I was like, oh, this doesn't look good, but it's like, oh, but it's all in his, like, it's all graphics around him. Yeah. So I guess it makes sense. Anyway, I just wanted to mention that.
It was also a good scene at the end when they did it again and he was using the spider sense to sort of figure out what's going on.
No, it's Tingle. It's Peter Tingle. I like that.
Oh, God. Yeah, it's Peter Tingle. And he was just like, there was no sound and he's just like bashing. Well, there was sound, there was no music. And he's just like breaking through the stuff. I'm like, that's smart. That's exactly how he'd get around that.
I'm going to make a comparison to another movie later, but remember that moment.
Just do it now.
This movie was like Spider-Man's Dark Knight.
Okay, why?
Because he has that situation where he has to use, ironically, it's almost inverted because in that movie, Batman used technology to see instead of his eyes or instead of his senses. Yeah. Whereas in this one, it's him using his senses instead of technology to see.
Yeah.
So it's almost inverse, but it's still the same concept, ironically.
That's true.
And then, of course, and the reason I didn't want to say it now because it's a thing at the end where Spider-Man is like flying Mary Jane through the city.
Yeah.
And then they're like, by the way, this guy killed Mysterio. And it's like him. And he's like, oh, I almost imagine him jumping on a motorcycle and then riding off into the distance.
He said, fuck this.
I mean, he's the hero New York deserves.
Yeah.
Not the one they need right now.
You know what's I will say comparison wise, one thing that the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies did well, at least the first two, was they stressed you out. Like when you were watching them, you would get stressed out about him meeting his demands, and they might do that by the third one, of him like trying to balance stuff. But I feel like the duality of his secret identity lent itself to that mechanic in the movie.
Yeah.
Whereas at this point, spoilers again, they pretty much are like, yeah, you're Spider-Man, and he told the world that he's pretty much Spider-Man. So um, Mysterio did. So it's like one of those things where it's like, how is this gonna go over? Does he have to balance it? Is that even a good move? It's definitely like one that makes you go, oh shit, but is it good? Is the other thing too.
It's it seems like it doesn't matter, honestly. Like in the world they've created, everyone knows who Iron Man is. Everyone knows who Captain America is. Like
Them for a reason.
But it doesn't like you can't have them in the same universe and be like, I gotta protect my identity, and then somebody's like, why? Like, who cares?
So Iron Man and Captain America, it's different. So for Iron Man, he only has what, Pepper Potts that he cares about? And in that instance, she's what, always next to him? Or I'm sure if he put those many or not restraints, but safety protocols on Peter, he's probably got that for Pepper. Granted, that's more of hindsight. So let's just say he cared about Pepper, but it didn't really develop until later at that point. And then for Captain America, yeah, everyone knows who Captain America is, but he doesn't have anyone that he cares about that isn't a superhero, except for Special Agent Carter, who, by the way, doesn't even show up in Avengers. It's just fucking gone. Yeah. So, and then he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna date your aunt, like, fuck it. So that, or your great aunt, whatever, that is sort of, and it was the whole point of the line at the end of Avengers where he's like, I am Iron Man. It was just talking about the fact that, yeah, he's accepted that he is this guy. I think that's exclusive to them. Like Thor can say, yeah, I'm Thor, right? And he pretty much does. And no one can say shit, but maybe Doctor Strange can't go around saying, hey, I'm also, I mean, even though people will know, like they're like, oh, you're Stephen Strange. I guess he didn't really have a crazy lifestyle. He's designed to live in seclusion anyway, right? It really depends on who you got.
Star-Lord, I guess
fucking cares.
So you're basically saying that Spider-Man needs to be hidden because of all the people that he cares about. Like they need to be protected.
It's been proven that he has the most people who are without powers that he cares about.
That makes sense.
If we're comparing him to everybody else. So maybe it means more to him. And then, and the fact that he's the only kid, everyone else is an adult. So
that makes sense.
He makes mistakes.
The only other thing though is that they're like they kind of tried to make Spider-Man the villain at the end, right? Like to be like he's the bad guy. But it's like, what about that huge, military group? What are they called? The Shield or whatever?
Mm-hmm. Shield Hammer?
What's his face? Samuel L. Jackson's the boss of?
Yeah.
Can't they just kind of manipulate things and be like, oh, by the way, no, he's not the bad guy?
They probably will. They just ended on a cliffhanger to be like, oh, shit. But
so, like, in the next one, they're just going to ignore that?
I
don't think they will. I don't think they will.
Here's why I think they will. Because at the end, they made a point to reference the scrolls. And consider this my prediction. Spider-Man 3 is going to involve the scrolls and him living that dual life to prove it wasn't him. So he's going to have a scroll that's going to be Spider-Man.
I disagree.
That's what they did in the comics, dude. It was a secret invasion.
Oh, okay, maybe.
There was people,
I thought that shit was just to set up more movies that are coming.
Well, yeah, but the scrolls are actually important. The scrolls have to do with, I believe they have to do with Annihilus too, which is a cool villain. He might be the next major villain. And then they'll put Nova in. Yeah.
I think the next Spider-Man is going to be the Green Goblin. And they got to do something about eradicating Spider-Man from the city.
I think it's going to be, I feel like it should be Sinister Six. Now that they know who he is. You don't know what that is?
No.
So Sinister Six is 6 villains. So it's like Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Carnage? Let me look it up. Hold on.
Dude, if they fucking...
if they put, what's his name?
They do Venom in there?
Yeah, that'd be a good move, but at the same time, it's still owned by Sony.
Yeah, but
entirely.
I feel like at this point, when couldn't they just? Because they're already doing it, right?
What?
They could just move that shit over. At this point,
Maybe. Oh, so yeah. So here's the other thing. They could absolutely do Sinister Six. It was probably going to be the Sinister Six. And here's why. Because at the end of Spider-Man: Homecoming is Scorpion's in it.
Homecoming?
Yeah, you saw the after credits scene.
No, I think I went to bed right after. It was late.
I'm tired. um, let me jump to this real quick. So the Sinister Six. I don't know at least one of I think one's Electro. All right, so Craven the Hunter, Mysterio, Sandman, Doc Ock, the Vulture. Wait, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's the Sinister Six. But they replaced the deceased Craven with Hobgoblin. But yeah, it's they pretty much said Scorpion. The Scorpion's in it. Mysterio's already been revealed. They could probably that one dude with the electric punch is Electro. So that's 3 right there. One they haven't said
they beat him pretty quick
Sandman.
in Homecoming.
They did, but that's probably why they're like trying to push it to show up. But overall, so that's the other thing too is there's a lot of them in general. So there's Electro, Mysterio, Sandman, Vulture, Craven the Hunter, Hobgoblin, Venom. Oh, Shocker. He's Shocker. He's not Electro. He's Shocker. Rhino, Chameleon, Scorpion, Lizard, Beetle, Scorpia. I don't know them. Electro, a different Electro.
Sounds like someone just let the zoo loose.
Pretty much, right? But all things considered, I could totally see that being a thing. Where it's like, instead they do like, so the original members are Doc Ock, Electro, Sandman, Vulture, Mysterio, and Craven the Hunter. Mysterio, we can pretty much consider dead. He might be dead. He might live. He might have lived. Maybe they didn't find the body. So, doubtful, but let's just say they did, right? So, that's Mysterio. Vulture's still alive. He's just in jail. The Shocker is still alive. He's a member.
But why would the Vulture be in it? I don't
because he's still pissed off.
I don't think they would use that. No, at the end he was like they said because he knows who Spider-Man is.
Yeah, but he's also gonna break out, dude.
And he was in that prison, and they're like, apparently you know who Spider-Man is. He's like, and then he said, if I knew, he'd be dead already. And he didn't tell him who Spider-Man was. Like he's not. I don't think he's got a grudge. Well, and like why? He's just some dude in this one. He's just some guy.
Yeah, he just lost his family and his life. He's a criminal.
I don't see that. I don't see them going. And Michael Keaton's old as fuck.
Get him in. He was great. Bring him back. He was one of the few villains. Like everyone talks about Killmonger from Black Panther as being good. I guess I thought he overacted.
Yeah, I did too.
Michael B. Jordan, but I loved Michael Keaton because he's just being honest. It's like, yo, I'm a dad. I'm trying to start a family. Fuck you. You guys took over my my work post. What's it called? Post Avengers.
You know what though? I'm gonna say something a little weird, and this goes for both Spider-Mans. I think they took for the villains. I think they took actors that people genuinely like, and let them just kind of sort of be themselves. And I don't know if I really love those characters that much. Like I love Michael Keaton, and I thought he did well, but I don't know if that villain really stood out all that well.
You gotta watch more Marvel movies, man. He stood out. This is back in the day when Thor: The Dark World just had a race of dark elves. Tell me the name. Like there wasn't even freaking what's his name? Jeff the dude.
Big Lebowski, Jeff Bridges.
Jeff Bridges, they showed in Spider-Man as being one of the inspirations for Mysterio's, like one of his henchmen.
Yeah.
Because he was in the first Iron Man. I can't think. Obadiah's. Stain. I can't think of the name of it. Whatever. They show him off, and he would have been, great if they gave him more just of. He just acted like a typical villain. There was nothing crazy about it. Same thing with the Red Skull. The Red Skull was done by what's his name?
I just saw The Matrix too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Didn't let him, be his own sort of guy. But he hated.
What about like Loki or even Thanos? I thought those guys really stood out. And
yeah, but that's all you hear about is the thing, right?
Well,
Loki really didn't come out. Loki was all right in the first Thor. He wasn't really.
Oh, I am not talking about Thor.
Yeah. Well, no, he was the villain in the first Thor.
Yeah.
Right? It wasn't until Avengers that you got to see that he sparred back with a lot of these guys, and it sounded good. Outsmarted him, so you're like, oh, cool, this is a cool villain. And then, like with Thanos was always in charge. In fact, I like his lead up and his Infinity War version better than his what's it called? Endgame.
Infinity War was amazing. Endgame was like now he's just the Marvel villain. So
exactly. Like one of the coolest scenes is when he brings the moon that planet down on Iron Man, and then like that was just a cool scene because both of them had banter. He's like, if you bring another moon down on me, he's like, I'm gonna be pretty pissed off. It's just that's his little whatever. But it's just cool to see like the spectacle of how strong this guy is. That's great. Do that more. But we don't have that. Thor 3 had. I
think the Marvel movies are
hella. That's right.
I think these Marvel movies are too focused on building their character. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like the hero character.
People are invested.
Yeah, but I mean, and it probably works for them, and that's great. But a lot of times, like a lot of the cool comic book movies that I've seen that have really stuck with me, it's like the villain's freaking awesome.
Name other than Dark Knight, name good villains.
Spencer don't like comic book movies.
Well, then you.
So that's what I'm saying.
Biased.
The ones that stand out to me.
Out of all the anime I watched.
Of all the anime I watch, I like Yu-Gi-Oh! The most. No. The Dark Knight had Joker. I liked Bane, even though it wasn't as good as Dark Knight, but I liked Bane a lot.
He was cool.
Classic Batman. I
hated Ra's al Ghul. He was bad.
I don't really like what's his face?
Christian Bale?
No, Ra's al Ghul.
Oh, Liam Neeson in general?
Yeah, I'm kind of on Liam Neeson, but I actually low-key I low-key liked what's her face? We were just talking about her earlier.
Talia?
No, and the older Batmans, the ones that you're not supposed to talk about.
Harley Quinn?
Ivy, Poison Ivy.
Oh, Poison Ivy?
Uma Thurman. I actually liked her in that.
No.
Yeah, I really did. If the point of that movie was to be a hammy, comic booky joke kind of movie, she nailed it. She absolutely nailed it.
She nailed it, or Arnold nailed it?
Arnold nailed it too. I'm being honest with that. He nailed it. If you watch that movie in the right light, it's actually kind of awesome.
What kind of light? Like
that is supposed to be freaking stupid. That's supposed to be a stupid, like almost like scene for scene comic book movie.
They fucked it up.
I liked it a lot. Probably more enjoyable than most comic movies I've seen.
But I mean, we're talking about villains here, but I think there are films that don't need to have an emphasis on the villain to still be good. It could be about a journey instead. Like Logan, it's not really a defined. Yeah. You have your villains, right?
Oh, Magneto. Speaking of that, by the way.
Magneto's a good villain because he presents a question to you. Yeah. Obviously, he's based off of Malcolm X.
The villain
is not that radical, but okay.
The villain should pose a thematic question, and when they do that, I think they're really great. And a lot of times in Marvel movies, the thematic questions, if they're there, are more somewhere along the line of the hero's journey, whereas I think with the Joker, and that might have just been a time thing, but it was like terrorism. How do you handle it? And it's like, whoa, When has a comic movie asked that question before?
When he's like one step ahead of you all the time, he hits you where it hurts. Not only that, but he's also the guy that he doesn't actually have an objective. Like he's an anarchist
Yeah.
to the T, and his only well, actually, he has an objective, which is to prove that with one bad day, you'll be just like him.
Yeah.
So all he's doing, his goal is to create just the worst situations for you to break you down, and it works too. He wins in the end.
Right.
Because he legit makes Batman retire until the Dark Knight Rises. He retires.
Yeah.
Like, imagine how much that would fuck somebody up. Like, the training that he's had, and then he's like, I'm fucking done. You know? Like, someone else is going to do this shit. Like, goddamn. And technically, that could still be felt in the Dark Knight Rises because he retires after Dark Knight Rises again. I don't think it was because of Bane. I'm pretty sure he's still thinking about the Joker at that point. Like,
oh my god!
I'm still sick of this shit.
You know what? I think it is. That just reminded me. That just clarified it. I don't think enough Marvel heroes have, or Marvel villains in the movies. I know they have backstories in the comics. I don't think their backstories are developed enough.
Technically, Joker doesn't have a backstory.
Right, but think about the other villain that was in that movie that you don't really hear about as much. No, Two-Face. You got to really explore Two-Face as like this
the origins of him.
Yeah, and like really see like, oh, that's why he's so fucked up, and like that's why he went that way. You don't really see that with a lot of Marvel villains.
Yeah, but they just fucked that up afterwards. They're like, by the way, you're dead. Like, I get where he's like, hey, I'm Harry Dent. You get to make one choice, and then like makes you.
I loved it.
Okay, cool.
I love that whole thing where he doesn't have to be the villain that shows up every Sunday and does, you know, his thing and then gets put back into Arkham. You know, they've got like
Saturday.
Whatever. Saturday morning cartoon. So he doesn't have to be that guy because it's not that kind of movie. He showed up and he is the villain for a certain thing and then he dies and it's like, okay, that's his story. But you know, they encapsulated all that really well.
I'd say what you're looking at though is different sort of material. We're looking at the Dark Knight, which only had 3 versions of it, or 3 of it,
mm-hmm.
right? Compared to Marvel, which different directors, but a lot of the same goal. It's turning to something that's.
Yeah, but how many do you really need the Vulture to be a recurring character?
Kind of thing. Forever. How many what?
Do you really need the Vulture to be a recurring character? Can't you just explore him for one movie and be done?
No, but you know what happens with Loki. All of what happens with Loki. So you go through his entire backstory. You see him become the villain. You also see, depending on your perspective, either Iron Man or Captain America become the villain in Civil War. You know, so I think it's there.
I like it when it's the villain of the movie has a little more meat to it.
I think, how long is what's called Dark Knight? It's like 2 hours and 30.
It's a long one. I mean, they're all that long now, but
well, no, because Spider-Man was what, 2 hours plus trailers?
Was it? Didn't it get out like late 4? Started at 2:20.
Started at 2:20. We got out, like 4 sometime. They're counting for trailers too. The trailers start at 2:20.
Wow.
So it wasn't as long. I'm not saying that's like you can't fit a good story in that time frame, but I'm just saying like if we're putting it one for one, the characters that come to mind to me that did have development is like Loki, obviously Thanos, that was obvious. But really, outside of them, if Killmonger came back, sure, and
think about
I thought they were gonna do something with Red Skull.
Yeah, now that he showed up at that one scene, that's like
showed up right at the end, and I was like, I get it, he's being played by a different actor, but come on, what you got for me? And he's like, just throw them in the pit. And I was like, I'm done.
Here's the thing: if they were really building this world, which they are, but now they have a whole new one to build. I think they need to focus on every movie, or at least not every one, but try to build up characters on the side that are going to be something, a villain later, or something important. Like, you know how, what's his Mysterio was that character in the Stark universe?
Yeah.
How come I never saw him? Like, you could have turned that into
Come on,
something.
dude. You know why?
Because he wasn't
You
cast
know.
already. But
No, because it wasn't even agreed that. Well, it was agreed at that time that the universes did mesh, but it wasn't agreed that there would, after the Civil War, be a home.
and it would have
be,
given
what's
it up.
called?
It would have given it up.
It would just seem weird that they're like, what's Gyllenhaal doing?
Yeah, it was Gyllenhaal.
Because you're gonna have to show his
So cast
credits.
an unknown. Cast an unknown.
No, you can't. Because if you cast him, then you're gonna be like Quentin Beck, Mysterio. What the fuck? You know, and it's just gonna throw you off. The whole point, by the way, of them showing like the whole thing and them doing the press tour together was to show like maybe they're gonna do something different with Quentin Beck. But Quentin Beck in the comics, or not the comics, because I didn't read too many comics as far as Mysterio goes.
Yeah.
But in the cartoon, he was always that guy that was like, oh, I'm on the side of good, but he was just special effects. That's all it was. I think that's a good thing that they showed off, how some people will manipulate the post like Tony thing. I get it. He's dead, but do you have to show him every fucking like a portrait of him, every fucking scene? Like, I get it. Gone.
Yeah.
Also, leave it.
I'm kind of tired of that.
Leave it to Marvel to make fun of their own character's death in the opening scene of the next film. Like, I was like, they're
hey,
like,
Scarlett Johansson, thanks for coming.
Yeah, right. I was legit like, what the fuck? Like, what are y'all doing? I mean, whatever, they did it, but you did it for a couple cheap laughs when it should have been like the real only times it was dramatic. There's like 3 times that it was dramatic, I'd say. The first was when he's like, I don't know if I could be Iron Man, because he's misinterpreting what Tony is saying.
Yeah.
Like, he's like, I want you to be the next Iron Man, as in I want you to be the next symbol, right? Because people just align him, unfortunately, more than Captain America. He just did more, right? He was more in the public's eye. And then if you're looking at the scene where he starts suiting up, like, that was a big deal because Happy's like, oh shit, he's... Yeah,
my girlfriend
on the nose.
specifically pointed out that scene as something that she loved. So
yeah, but it was also, he's like, oh, I love Led Zeppelin. I was like, oh my god. I was like, holy shit.
I hope you die.
That's don't say it. That's it's AC/DC.
Yes.
Thank God. My heart
Back
stopped. In Black. Back in Black.
Yeah.
Does he say? Is that the first line? Back in Black.
Something like that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Back in White. But and then sort of the third scene was really the fact that he was being creative with his shit. Like, Spider-Man's a quick thinker, right? What was that? Hold on.
I just want to take this time while he's handling some other business to advertise. We have a sponsor for the show. Today's sponsor is Etrian Odyssey Nexus.
Shit.
For the 3DS. It came out a while ago, but it is worth playing, and it is long and full of dungeon crawler goodness. So make sure to check out Etrian Odyssey Nexus at your local stores today. Hey, JD. Thanks for coming back.
Yeah, I thought someone was in the house. I freaked out.
Who is it?
Yeah, right. Who's there? What do you want? Anyway, let's wrap this up. Would you recommend that movie? And stop being overly critical. Simple question.
Yeah, I recommend it.
Oh my god!
I wish they'd stop trying to make it a comedy, because it's not. The comedy's
It was funny.
Comedy's
though.
horrible in that movie.
It had funny. No.
To me, the only funny parts are with Samuel L. Jackson. He is just a legend.
Where he's like, "Bitch, please."
When they were talking in that hotel room and people kept walking in, that was hysterical. He's like, I'm gonna kill the next person that comes in. Like, that's just great. That stupid fat kid is so annoying.
God, why are you an asshole?
Mary Jane, I've got my opinions on her, which we've expressed. Yeah. I think she's autistic. Everybody else, I just did not think anything was very funny. But
Not even Tom Holland.
no, not him.
Tom
either.
Holland was plenty funny. Just because it wasn't your kind of funny.
Yeah. Anyway, I would recommend it because most people are cool with that. So yeah.
You know what's not funny?
What? Uh-oh, here he comes.
Dark Knight.
No, it's not. It's a very grim, depressing movie.
There you go.
Although its sense of humor is better. Its sense of humor when it tries to be funny.
The podcast
is funnier,
now,
but it's not a funny
funny.
movie.
Yeah, oh man, it's hilarious.
Whereas
Hilarious.
Spider-Man Far From Home tries desperately to be funny at every possible turn and needs to cool its jets on that.
It succeeds plenty. I think you just have no soul, so you can't laugh anymore. God.
That Spider-Man is most entertaining.
Spider-Man, I do declare. Quite the jokes on this one.
Do you recommend Spider-Man Far From Home?
I would, but part of me, it doesn't go up there. Like, I feel like at this point, it's, for the most part, Marvel does a good job.
Yeah.
With the exception of, like, Captain Marvel. I don't like that movie.
No.
You just gotta be honest. And arguing with my brother for like 2 hours about it after the movie.
That movie has so much politics behind it. There's no way.
I mean, they pointed it out. They said, yes, there are going to be politics.
Yeah.
Which, okay, do it. But
at that
the
point,
minute you put on I'm Just a Girl on a fight scene, I want to fucking
it's over.
Like, rip off someone's head and kick it at the movie screen. Like,
yeah.
I'm so done with it. Don't give me that dumb shit.
Yep.
So, but that's me. Personally, I feel if we're to rate it here, I like Homecoming's villain slightly better. I like Gyllenhaal. I think he did a good job, but I don't think it was a surprise as far as to him being a villain. I think it was more of him just being like, oh shit, well, you watched the comics, right? Or you read the comics, right? Or you watched the TV show, right?
Yeah, like if you have a cursory knowledge that this is a Spider-Man villain, it's like, oh, it's not going to be what you think at the beginning. So
yeah, it's like, come on, bro. But
I also like Homecoming's villain more.
Yeah, as far as, and I also like the environment better. I like Spider-Man in New York.
Same.
You know, Spider-Man in space isn't terrible because they did a good job with him on Infinity War. Yeah. But I also think it was just the actors that were there too. Outside of that, it's not a terrible, or it's not a, it doesn't rank up there as like top 10.
No.
But it's still a good film for me. As far as Marvel, if we're talking Marvel movies. I still love my Civil War, man. Or not my Civil War, my Winter Soldier. It's clearly the best one. But that's me.
I think Infinity War is my favorite Marvel movie.
Infinity War?
Yeah.
I mean, Infinity War is good. Infinity War is very good because it sets the standard for what's going on.
Yeah. Thanos is probably one of the best villains I've seen in Marvel. And all the characters meshing. That's the one for me.
It doesn't feel like someone's hogging too much screen time.
No, and that's shocking considering how many characters
how many
they have.
Fucking people are in it? Yeah.
I was like, there's no way they can make it work, and they totally did. So, props to them on that. Anyway, that's it for the podcast today. We're at an hour and 24 minutes.
Don't lie to me.
Busted your time up a little bit.
Yeah, I gotta go to bed like right after this.
But thanks for joining me. Anything you want to say to the people before we head out?
Subscribe, and if you don't, you don't love me.
You love JD, so subscribe. Take it easy, everybody.